We'll go over a few of the sick that I have on the list. Tommy Hobgood, Sherry Wilkins will be having surgery on December 2nd for melanoma. Barbara Cornwell is recovering from her hip surgery. Ruth Ann Edwards is homesick. And also we'd like to announce that Sarah Provine, which is Pam Edwards' aunt, her funeral will be Tuesday at 12 a.m. Do we have any other announcements for the sick? If not, we have Hal Ferguson here with us today. He'll be speaking with us over the Chamala mission during our Bible class, and he will also have our sermon this morning during our worship hour. So if there are no others sick, I will turn it over to Hal and let him get started.
Morning. It's good to see everybody here. I appreciate having the opportunity to fill in for Jason. I know that he is due for a well-deserved break, vacation, whatever you want to call it. Maybe just be able to sit home and drink a little coffee and his home with his wife and family. I know the holidays have just passed us, at least this first one anyway. I don't know about y'all, but we've got like 5 or 6 grandkids' birthdays all in the month of December. So I don't know what we're going to do, but everybody's busy this time of the year. We've had our share of busyness. We've had one of our kids' family living with us temporarily while he's transitioning from a work to become the new associate minister at North Jackson. So we're excited about that, but yet it's been, we love our grandkids, but you can only take so much sugar and honey, and after a while, you want to have something else to eat. So, but we've had a lot of fun with them. We enjoyed them being with us. Make sure everything is working right here. I think it is. So I want to begin thanking the congregation here for your continual support for the Chamala mission. A lot has happened in the last year, especially within the last probably month and a half. And I'll talk about that a little more toward the end of the presentation. If you've been able to keep up with some of the news, looking at some of the international news, particularly in East Africa, you'll see that they didn't have a really good election. And so we'll talk about that and what some of the ramifications of that are. But again, thank you for your support. I appreciate having the opportunity to visit here at Walnut Grove and up in our area. We used to live in Murray for about 6 years, so it was kind of nice coming through Murray, Kentucky, and seeing everything and remembering how beautiful the state of Kentucky really is. So we're really glad to be here. Beginning with this presentation, I'll just make sure that everything is working right. All right, that's good. Success. You already know who we are, so updated the presentation just a little bit. A lot of some information will be pretty much similar as it has been in previous presentations because the work continues to be as it is. New individuals have come our way, and some are continuing with some new works and new objectives. But the general work itself is the same. We still work under the oversight of the Dalraida Church of Christ. We were just there about a month ago. We were at the Faulkner Lectures in Montgomery. Faulkner University, one of our Christian universities, is just down the highway, down Atlanta Highway from Dalraida. And so we were able to visit with the mission committee, the elders, visit with the church, and be able to attend some of the lectures. And it was my first time to go to Faulkner. In fact, I didn't know that they were still doing their lectureships anymore. So this was our first trip to go down there, made some contacts and that kind of thing. And so that was a beneficial visit there. But again, it's good to be with Dalraida, seeing them and their continued commitment to the work at Chamala Mission. The country hasn't moved a bit. As far as I know, it's still there, located in East Africa. And as far as geographically, it is one of the countries that it connects to probably as many countries as any other country. I always think about my state of Tennessee, how many different states Tennessee connects to, and Kentucky is kind of the same way a little bit. Tanzania is that way. It connects to a lot of different countries, so they have a lot of influx in other cultures, but it's similar in many ways to all of those countries that surround it. Tanzania is considered one of the more peaceful countries, politically peaceful. I always tell people that, back in the mid-90s, you remember the genocide that took place between the Hutus and Tutsis, and a lot of politics involved in that, but there was probably over 1 million people that were killed, slaughtered literally over that civil war, you might say, between some of those countries of Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi. But whenever the UN began having their tribunal and all of these war criminal trials, they did that in Arusha because it was considered a very peaceful place. In fact, Arusha is considered the Geneva of Africa. So we lived in Arusha for about 2000, 2003, and it was Africa, but it was one of the more peaceful countries. But you learn how things can turn around almost overnight. And so when you're living in third world countries, working with third world countries, things can flop very quickly. Ukraine is another example. We worked with the Ukraine. We had a couple of schools in Ukraine. And you see how that turned so quickly from the time that we had an extension school in Gorlovka and then in Krasny Armysk and other places, that it flipped over so quickly that now they're at war with Russia. So one of the things that we always emphasize to these schools and other countries is the importance of becoming self-supportive, the importance of becoming self-ruling, autonomous, so that when things do happen, and they do happen, that the people, the churches, will be able to remain unified, strong, and be able to endure whatever comes their way politically or in any other way. So, we hope that this is going to calm down, but we just need to always be ready. You see the three major cities that we generally have connected through: Arusha, Dar es Salaam on the coast, and Chamala. Of course, Chamala is not a major city, but it is where we go, so it's got its own little pin mark there. The location, as far as the country, I always encourage people to go to Google Maps or go to Google Earth, and you can zoom in and you can find this exact area. You can zoom in, swirl around, do whatever you want to, and be able to see the geographical location. And I always point out, again, it's at the edge of the Great Rift Valley. That's why when you're looking at this angle, it looks kind of flat below, and it is. The Usangu Plains is very, very flat, but you're at the right at the edge of these mountains, Tipengari Mountains, which goes up for another 3,500 feet. So you got about 400 acres of the main property, which has the school of preaching, the church that's on the mission, the schools, the preaching schools, the estate, hospital, mission houses, all other kind of facilities. That's all on the lower property. And then you go up the 57 squiggly road up to the top at the old Elsa farm, which was an old German pig farm. And that's where our farm is. And we've made a lot of progress on that. And we've actually been able to raise a lot of money to help move that property along. And I'll show you more about that. I don't ever know if there's going to be kids in class. So I usually tell people to let the kids sit in class if they want to, so they can see the animals. So maybe you're still young at heart and you'd like to see animals. So I've got a few animal pictures here that I like to throw up. Some of my favorite pictures that we've had just over the years in visiting Tanzania. But again, we moved through that pretty quickly. This is our last, I believe it was our last missionary shot picture that we were able to take with everybody there. I think even Ava is in there. Lee and Tara Wright on the far left, and their children, Emily and Brody. They came to us last year. It's hard to believe it's been a year now, over a year since they came. And Lee's had some misfortunes. He got a real bad, sorry about that, spoiled alert there. He got a bad bite of something. We don't know if it was a scorpion or a spider, but it pretty well put him on his back for a while. And Lee's a pretty robust guy. He works out, does the weights. He's all into that kind of stuff. And it really did knock him down quite a bit. And he's recovered from that, but it did take a lot of time. They never could figure out what really was wrong with him. But anyway, they're there. And then our son Nathan and his family, and I jumped ahead a little. Their newest little baby, we said goodbye to them this morning. They were on their way leaving to go to Creve Hall in Nashville for worship service, and then they're heading up to Massachusetts to spend a month with Christy's mother. And Albany, New York, is the church there is one of their supporting churches. But anyway, so, Babu's got to show his little grandbaby here once in a while, so that was what that's for. I hope you'll pardon me for that. This is Menard Suila. Menard is our administrator, and I've been communicating a lot with him lately. It was a little difficult around election time because the internet had all been shut down. But Menard is one of our graduates of the Chamala School of Preaching and also the Chamala Bible College, one of our early graduates. But he's over the whole mission. Our different departments, we have the schools, the primary school, the secondary school, the Chamala School of Preaching, the hospital, the farm program, and the estate. And these are the major areas that are emphasized at the mission. There are a lot of other things that go on. Obviously, evangelism is a part of all of these, but these are the major parts. And like everybody, churches, individuals, we're all different, and some of us like certain things better than others. Some people really like the hospital, and they like to put their emphasis and their support toward the hospital. Others are into education of children, and many times we've had, for example, when Cindy Stinson passed away, Cindy's husband, well, they were missionaries there, but Cindy's husband was the administrator. He was also a coordinator and an elder at the overseeing church, but she was really into the schools. She learned to speak. She could do sign. I can't do it. She worked with the School of the Deaf, and she was really interested in the schools. When she passed away, we received donations in memory of Cindy for the schools. And so some people like to emphasize the schools, and some like to emphasize the School of Preaching. I kind of favor the School of Preaching because that's sort of my area. And so we just had our recent graduation, but they do enjoy that part of the work. And then the farm program, that was sort of Lee Wright's area. He grew up in Texas. He worked in the oil fields. He worked on ranches. He was a lineman. He also was a preacher and an educator, but he really likes working with cattle. And so that's his area. I'll say more about that as well. And then the estate is just the general, your sticks and your bricks and your concrete and your boards and your buildings and your pipes and your electrical and all the stuff, just like you have a plant here that has to be maintained. You have an elder maybe or deacons that are over that particular area that makes sure the building is, everything's working. Pipes not leaking, roof's not leaking, grass being cut, all that kind of stuff. You have to do that. That's what the estate's about, except we just have a 700-acre estate. I just have sorry, I got a little distracted there. We have some summary pictures just to kind of let you see what goes on there. There's Rowan and his new baby sister. And on the top right, you see a picture of a classroom where these are actually secondary school students, girl students. And one of the really neat things about having schools and hospitals and other things in your mission area is you have all kind of opportunities to teach. And so every Thursday night, Mary or Tara or Christy or whoever happens to be there will go over to these girls at 7 o'clock at night, and they'll have Bible classes. And so it's been a great opportunity for these girls, and the guys do the same thing, for some of the men to be able to teach classes. Because most of these girls and all the kids who are at the school come from non-Christian homes. They come from all over the country. And many of them are boarding students. That means we provide their, where they live, what they eat, room and board. They have someone to oversee them and covers all their living expenses. And so they're kind of a captured audience. They have to go to worship services, attend Bible classes. All the classes have Bible knowledge, so no matter what grade you're in, you're going to have a Bible knowledge class. And there's a lot of other information around the mission to help people learn the gospel and a lot about the Bible. The center, middle, bottom picture there is one of the congregations that people will attend. On Sundays or even on Wednesdays, we try to go out and visit some of the nearby churches. There's a lot of them around the Chamala Mission area because it's an old work. It's been around since actually late 50s. And so there's been churches that have been established around the area, and they always look forward to having us visit. Then you can see some of the cattle that we have. I was reading on the internet about Tanzania, East Africa, and there's about 5 different variety of cattle. I know the difference in looking at them, but I couldn't give you names. But there are different ones that are there, and we have, I think, a couple of breeds, and looking at getting some more. We had an interesting visit this last visit. Nathan and Christy were due for furlough, so we went in middle of August. We brought with us Mark Teskey. Mark's in the top left. If you ever do any of the college lectureships or school of preaching lectureships, you'll see Mark. He works with GBN, with Jim Dearman. He has a program today. It's called Good News Today. And he was an elder at South Haven for a number of years. Come to find out, interesting, when I saw him at Free Hardeman, we were talking. I was, crying to my root beer about Chamala Hospital and the issues that we're trying to solve. And he said, well, you know what, I might be able to help you with that because I used to be a former hospital administrator. And I said, wow, I had no idea. And he's very, very knowledgeable in hospitals and accounting. His wife's an RN. And so, long story short, Dalreda agreed to send them over. And so they came with us. Well, actually, they came a little bit later, but we all left to come home together. But they were there and have been helping us with the hospital. So they have been a great asset to us, and we're looking forward to working with them some more. But he's in the top left corner of that picture. Then you can see some new cookers we got. We got some new gas cookers for the schools, make it safer. We got cited by the government education department saying that our method of cooking was not safe. I said, I want to say, well, yeah, but we're in Africa, this is kind of how they cook over there with wood, but they wanted us to update it, so we did update our cooking. And a variety of different pictures of estate, things being worked on, our GE X-ray machine and things like that. Oops. As far as the schools are concerned, again, we provide basically primary school through, through secondary education up to Form 4, from preschool all the way to Form 4 education. It's a private school. It is a school that the parents do pay tuition. It's not that high with us, cheap, but for them it's a struggle. And a lot of times they have to wait till harvest season to be able to send funds to pay off the year's tuition. But it's a great opportunity to influence these children in becoming children of God. The primary school chapel, it's one of my favorite things to do when I'm over there, is go there in the morning when they're all coming out, and there's about 491 kids, I think, this year in our primary school. To hear them all sing and sing their national anthem and have a devotional and pray and so forth. It's just a really great time to be there. And so many things that we're able to do with them as well. Secondary school is about 129 students. We don't have near as many. We're trying to increase that. But again, you're competing with a lot of other schools. And our schools are limited financially. We're not like the big denominations that have all kind of money that comes in from these associations and these councils and that kind of thing. And we don't generally advertise, outside of the local, our brotherhood, as far as informing people. I'm sure I've had this conversation with Jackson's brother, Jared. They work with Christian Courier, and we've talked about that. He said, we have a very slim clientele that we serve. We don't go outside to the whole world to bring in income. It's the Churches of Christ is a very slim slice of the religious pie, you might say, of the world. So we're kind of in the same boat. We don't have all these huge world organizations that send us funding for our schools. So we operate pretty much on what we're able to raise, free will donations, and of course the tuition that the parents pay. But the tuition barely covers just existing, much less anything else. And so from time to time we have to do things, buy equipment, make repairs, and that kind of thing. In fact, just recently we were able to raise some funds for the sewage problem that they're having at the primary school. Now these kids here are real proud of this situation. These are children that all obey the gospel. There's about 33, if I'm reading that correctly, that obey the gospel. And this is not unusual. Usually every year we'll have a group of kids that, they have learned the gospel through the, going to school every day, the devotionals, through the programs that we have, Bible knowledge classes, the things that they read on the walls. And so they've learned the gospel. And our preacher students and some of our staff have opportunities to teach them. And so they learn the gospel, and so it's not unusual to have a good number of kids every year to become Christians. Now these kids are not all these kids are Christians, but they're all children of preachers. And this is part of our Preachers Kids program. So some of these will probably become Christians eventually, like most kids do who grew up in the church. And I'm probably not following that sign. So, okay, I'm going to put this down so I can see what time it is. I'm sorry, I'm not very good at getting clues. Okay, all right. But these kids are all the ones, their dads are preachers. There may be one that's an orphan, but we have it's kind of a sponsorship that we have, scholarship you might say, where the preachers who preach for churches basically for free, they don't get really anything or very, very little. In fact, I don't think they even get anything to cover their expenses of traveling there. And so a program was developed that might help them to be able to go to school. And so these kids are supported by different individuals or churches so that they can get a Christian education at our schools. Kind of help their families who are not able to send their kids to private schools. We just had our graduation recently. We had about 6 graduates. I always wish we'd had more than that. It's a long story, a series of circumstances that we were not able to have as many. We started out with 11. We graduated at 6. Several things happened that some had to leave. They couldn't deal with it. Some immoral issues. We had to let them go. We're trying to do a better job recruiting, in our new intake in January. So we'll have to see how that turns out. Mary and I are planning on returning in January the 14th with Nathan and Christy. Lord willing, things turn out okay. And so we'll be there for the new school year, the new intake of students, also the primary and secondary school, their new start of the year. But we put a lot of emphasis on the School of Preaching. We have some good teachers. We have a good director, Bernard Kulanga. He's our director. He was I may have told you this before, but he was 27 years as a hospital administrator. Before that, he was an airport engineer, worked in avionics, and he worked as our very first CBC director, Jamal Bible College CBC, and then he left, but then we got him to come back as our director, so he's now serving as our director. But he's looking at retiring probably fairly soon. We have chapel every day, Monday through Friday. All the departments have chapel. One of the things that we do as part of the School of Preaching, besides having a 2-year program, 5 days a week, is we do our Gospel Chariot campaigns, we do seminars, and here's a picture of a new person of interest that has about to join us. His name is Brad Bell, Brad and Tanya Bell. He's a retired rancher from around Midland, Texas. He's got a lot of experience in a lot of things. He's a very highly talented person. We're really glad that he's interested in helping us. And he wants to go and work there in 2027, he and Tanya, to move there and help us with our our farm program. But he's kind of a self-made man. He's not looking to raise support for himself. He's raised quite a bit of money for cattle, and so we're looking for that. But here he is preaching at the Gospel Chariot. He was there visiting this past summer, and he's there. You can see Lee Wright in the background sitting there. But outdoor preaching is commonly what we do. We have the Gospel Chariot for 4 weeks a year. We go to different places and preach the gospel for that week. And so the students, the instructors, they all participate in that, and it's not uncommon to have a number of baptisms and restorations as a result of that. We also have the seminars and those kind of things that are involved as well. As far as the hospital, this has probably been the biggest challenge for me, just since I've been involved in it, and that is running a third world hospital, or a hospital in general in a third world situation where you don't have outside funding and all these programs and grants and all these kinds of things. And if you know of any of those kind of people, let me know, because we just do not have that. And so it's a struggle to keep a hospital operating with all the services that we have offered, you know, in prenatal and postnatal and delivery, children's ward, men's wards, women's wards. We have an HIV section. We have 2 operational theaters, a major one that was just been renovated about 3 years ago. We try to ship over equipment. We're not shipping equipment now. We're basically having to buy it over there. It's more expensive. Maintaining that stuff with very reliable electricity, dirty electricity, I think that's what they call it. And so it tends to destroy a lot of our equipment if we're not careful. So there's a lot of challenges. We have orthopedic services. We have a guy that's kind of on standby for that. We've had a couple of twins that were born recently. One of them has died. We have baby warmers, but they needed a special baby LED lights type of warmer. I was a little upset about it. I'm not fully understanding what's happening right now, but I want to get to the bottom of it, of why they were not able to keep the baby warm. So, you know, these are some of the challenges that goes on over there. And you can see one of the baby incubator that we had bought, and we had another warmer that we had also. Other new equipment that we were able to buy, but again, we can't do this just immediately. It has to be raised to do that. One of our last trips that we were there, it was unfortunate that we had a bus accident occur in the area. And this is down in a ravine. There was about 13 people killed in this accident. And we were trying to help them to get the bus out of there. There were still some people on the bus. We couldn't get them out, and it was a really terrible thing. But the hospital was very, very busy. I thought I had another picture. You know, sometimes the hospital is very quiet, not much going on, and then it's just loaded. All the wards are full. The doctors and nurses are running from ward to ward. And what was sad about this whole situation, this is very common, bus accident. It was a truck that pulled into the hospital full of people, and some of them were hurting, unconscious, bleeding, crying, yelling. Some were dead. It was just our morgue got filled very, very quickly. In fact, we're having to repair our morgue because the fan motor went out and a connector went out on it. You know, these are just things that happen. Motorcycle accidents are frequent. Broken bones from motorcycle accidents. You know, and a lot of these people don't have the money to pay for it, or they don't have enough, or they file NHIF, which is National Health Insurance Foundation funding, and but they don't come through. The doctors don't fill out the paperwork right. There's just constant challenges that you have to deal with dealing with a hospital. Now, this is a bright spot. We met a guy that's a brother in Christ. This is in Mbeya, and this is his hospital. His name is Stephen. He makes trips to Dubai, one of the richest cities, I guess, in the world. And I said, you must have Bill Gates. You must have Elon Musk on speed dial. But this was the hospital that he had built. And you compare that hospital with our hospital, and there's such a difference. We have 128 beds. He has like 500-something beds. I wish I could tell you more about that. We just don't have the time. But we're trying to work out relationships where we can help each other. We have American contacts from Christian universities. We have contacts from Great Britain, Germany, South Africa, other places, Hong Kong, that want to come and do their internship at our hospital. He doesn't have those, but he's got resources, equipment that he can buy at cost that we don't have, and other professional opportunities. He toured us through his hospital. We were very, very impressed. For a third world country to have the kind of facilities that he has and professionalism, it was really something that we had to really bite our lip at, because it was quite impressive. But again, we're looking at opportunities with him. The farm program, you know, we continue to have growth in that area. We've tried row crops. It didn't succeed well at Elsa for a lot of different reasons. It's kind of an uncontrolled environment, and you don't have access to, you know, to all kinds of services and supplies and equipment and speedy ordering opportunities. You just don't have all of that, and things do break down a lot. But we found that our cattle are doing very well. This is Nathan with Ezekiel, our farm manager. And we were doing beans. This is at Ellis. It's about 6,500 feet elevation. So things grow differently up there. You go out one day and you got beautiful cucumbers and squash, and next day it's destroyed because of the cold weather. But this is looking from one, I don't know if that picture's any better than this one, but we're actually looking at a drone, looking down at the farm, and you can see the edge of the Rift Valley there. So it's a different environment up there. This is Patrick. Actually, we just lost Patrick. He was a Maasai herdsman that was watching our cattle in the enclosures. Right now, we've got, let's see if I've got I don't have it here yet. Well, I'll just show you a little bit later on. But anyway, we built an enclosure for him. We've got right now about 60 to 70 cows. We have some that are expecting to give birth. We have some really good funding right now to buy. We're hoping to get up around 250 to 300 cattle eventually. We can start generating income from the selling of cattle. But again, trying to make the mission a self-supportive mission. This is a new Elsa workers' house. I know these don't mean anything that seems significant, but these are significant. These are old German houses that were in ruins that we're rebuilding to have facilities to operate out of. And so this is a place where our workers can actually live. We wired it. We have solar panels there so they can charge their phones, have electricity, lock the doors at night, that kind of thing. Have a radio, a little TV maybe if they need it. We also have our chickens. We were doing layers, but we decided to go to broilers because we can get rid of them every 3 months. We can rotate them, sell them out, and we don't have to keep them and they risk getting sick. We still are able to do our milling. Our rice, our corn is able to be milled. Here's another picture of some of our cattle in the enclosures. You can kind of see some old ruins in the background. These are some of the old ruins from previous missionaries and the old German pig farm that was there pre-World War I. But when the missionaries were there, they had the Tanganyika Bible School. There was a church building there. There was the preacher school. There was places for the students to live, their families. Each had their own individual house with a little fireplace. And they had classrooms, office rooms. There was missionary dorms, apartments and duplexes and that kind of thing. But again, that was abandoned in the 70s, so all of that just fell apart. And when you leave a piece of property open to the world and you don't have anybody watching it, nobody protecting it and guarding it, well, things are going to start disappearing, and that's what happened. And so that's why when Mary and I started going there full time, that we wanted to restore that area back to an operating mission again. And we're on our way, but it's taken some time. Okay, there's our cattle stats I was looking for. We had 33 cows, newly purchased cattle. And again, this is relative, 29, current total about 62. We had 12 expecting. I think some of them have already delivered. Anticipated by the end of the year about 74, 75. And so we're going to have to add to that. But again, we're getting some donations, and a lot of this money is coming in from Texas. It's coming in from farmers, from ranchers that have done this, and they see the importance of being able to help the farm to be able to be self-supported. The estate is just the stuff. It's everything else. And it's a fascinating place. If you ever get a chance to go, I encourage you to go. Send Darian maybe with you sometime. I know he would probably like to go and just see the place. It's a beautiful place. We try to take care of it, but it's rough in a way. You've got a river there. You've got a canal that runs through it. Lots of things to see. Wild animals, not the big ones that you're scared of, but the little smaller ones. And we do have snakes, of course. All different kinds of birds and different insects I've never seen in my life. And I think every ant that lives in Africa lives at Chumala Mission, I think. There's a lot of them, a lot of ants, and they're mean, they're big. A lot of stuff over there is big too. In fact, I had a good friend of mine, he said, everything in Africa can hurt you. I said, well, I don't know if it's that bad, but you just have to kind of mind where you walk and what you're doing. But again, it's a beautiful mission. During the rainy season, right now the rains have just started. It was like a powder house, but the rains are coming, and so it'll turn a garden of Eden. Beautiful flowers, trees, green, everything is just so beautiful. The sound of the rain on the tin roofs at night is just it's just quite an experience. Again, I tell you, it's kind of rough. This is shop, but this is what you might expect of a shop. You know, if you work at a garage or anything like that, you kind of expect seeing, you know, bricks, and you see benches, and you see rough stuff and poor lighting, and you see, you know, grinders and lathes and saws and all kind of things, table saws and routers. This all kind of equipment that we do because we maintain the whole mission ourselves. We have our own auto mechanics section, fabricators, electricians, plumbers, you name it, pretty much we have people who can do it. This is Richard there with his plane. Mninga wood, M-N-I-N-G-A, some of the prettiest wood you'll ever see. One of my sons asked me, he said, you know how much a board of walnut costs? I said, I have no idea. He said, an 8-foot board of walnut, I think it was like $156 a board. I said, that's just unbelievable. And maybe that's cheap, I don't know. But we don't cut our trees down. These are trees that fall down voluntary, and then we take those trees, we make lumber out of it, we do all kinds of stuff with it. I can show you pictures of a lot of that. In fact, that table on the right is made of Mninga. This is actually one of our meetings. We have these every month when I'm there, but they have them when I'm not there either. And these are our department heads' meetings. They're very important meetings. Just like any organization, you have to have meetings. You know, they're one of the things you don't want to do, but you have to do, and they're needed, and they're beneficial. Some of the churches, this is one particular congregation that we had visited, and there was an old preacher there that went to the old Tanganyika Bible School at the mountain. He was a young man back in those days, and he's an older man now, and he works with this church. Doesn't get anything. And they were meeting this old church building you see on the right side, and it was eat up with termites. In fact, we were kind of scared to go in there because it looked like it's going to fall down. And so they had started the building on the left. And so we helped them raise the money to finish that building. And he's very thankful. Here he is on the left side. I want to say his name. His name reminds me of one of my favorite dishes over there that I eat, chichando. Chando. Chichando is my favorite dish, but Chando is his name. And just a very fine gentleman. And we knew his daughter when we used to live in Arusha. And that's Bernard Swila there to the right, translated for Chando. And he's basically thanking everyone, thanking the church, thanking the American congregations that sent support to help them to be able to finish their building. One of the churches, this is Chosi A that we go out to. Usually almost every Wednesday night we'll go to Chosi A and have opportunities to teach the Bible to the children out. And these are just village kids that come out of the banana groves and bushes and come out there when we pull up in a truck. And so it's a lot of fun. We really enjoy going out and speaking to these children. Again, our goal, is to try to evangelize the area. It's an existing mission that has many different pieces and parts, and each part, either directly or indirectly, affects our main goal of seeking and saving that which is lost. And so we're not counting baptism as baptism, but we're always looking for conversions. And so people like to know numbers, and we try to provide those numbers as often as we can. But again, numbers don't always tell the story. You're looking at an influence of a mission that influences many different people in many different areas that we sometimes don't have those same opportunities here in the States, where we can go into hospitals, we can go into schools, we can go to public buildings, and we can preach the gospel and do it outdoor, even outdoor publicly. Now, this is what I was going to tell you as I want to end the presentation. They just had a recent election, the 29th of October, and getting into all their politics is more complicated than ours. Ours is complicated enough. But the two opposition parties were disqualified and for different reasons, one for supposed treason, one for some kind of technical detail. And so the young people, and this is happening around the world, if you pay attention to world politics, the Gen Z is rising up. They did it in Madagascar, in Sri Lanka, in I can't think of it, Cameroon, other places, other countries, Mozambique, and they're doing it in Tanzania, and they're tired of the old ways that they're being ignored, suppressed. The CCM party won 98% of the vote. You think that's suspect? It is. And so they're sick of it, and they're tired of it. So they rose up. We're not condoning what they did, but they're unhappy with the situation, and they want election changes. So that's what's happening. They shut down the internet. They declared martial law. If you're out on the streets, you're liable to get shot. And a lot of people did get shot. They're estimating 2,000 to 3,000 people, young people, have been shot and killed and buried in mass plots. So that's under investigation with all these watchdog organizations, the UN. Trump hasn't spoken to it yet, but other national, world leaders have condemned what's going on as not being a fair election. So keep all of that in your prayer. And the reason for that, not only for the churches of Tanzania, not only for the country of Tanzania, but also we're returning in January the 14th. And we're hoping that this will all die back down. But they're calling for a big protest on the 9th of December, which is their Independence Day. Like ours is the 4th of July. But the government said there will be no public celebrations. Well, that's not going to go around well. So we don't know what's going to happen. There's been a security outfit that's looked into it, investigated it, and they said that there'll be an internet shutdown for 12 days. And again, martial law. So we don't know the outcome of it, but it can be volatile. So keep that in your prayers. Lee Wright was supposed to go back tomorrow. He's canceled his flight tickets till the 29th of December. And also Brad and Tanya Bell were supposed to go sometime in the month of December for a 1-month trip. But Nathan and them are returning back permanently. They came back for furlough, but they're going back permanently again. I'd say that permanently. And we're going with them because there's a lot of things we want to do, and we'll be there for about 2 months. So we would appreciate your prayers in the unrest that's going on over there. You might read more about it, get on the internet, look it up, and you can read some of the details that have happened. Again, we appreciate this church, your support, your prayers. If you have any questions, you can go to our website. If you're not getting a newsletter, you can sign up and get our digital newsletter, and there's some other information up there as well. So again, we appreciate you and invite you to come visit Chamala whenever things settle down, maybe a little bit. But if you'd ever like to go, let me know. We have nursing students that come over. We have other people who come over for different reasons, people who are just curious, some are interested. I've got a short course teacher coming over in January, supposed to be coming, and a good friend of mine from California that now is at North Jackson, and he's been a big supporter of the mission. He wants to go. He's always wanted to go. He heard the stories of Andrew Connolly, and he's read of the different works, and he's been a big morale boost to me and financial helper with the mission as well. So he wants to see it for himself, and that's very normal. And we always encourage people, don't just take our word for it. Come over and look at it yourself, and you'll never be the same again. Again, thank you. If anybody has any questions, any comments, got about a minute maybe. Actually, I took away 1 minute. Yes, sir, he was here first. Yes, sir. In Tanzania, well, estimates up 58 to 60 million people, roughly. Yeah, it is. I want to say it's in the area of Ukraine and Texas, pretty much those land areas. I think Ukraine may be a little bit bigger, but Tanzania is a pretty good-sized country. It's like I said, you'd have to look at the map. Kind of, I don't know how many million square miles it is or anything like that. But if you look at it from a scale of all of Africa, it's one of the larger countries over in East Africa. Yes, sir.
If I have one child from school, room and board for the whole year, how much would that cost?
I think the secondary school is like 1.6 million shillings. Don't let that scare you. and I think the primary school is like 1.4. Exchange rate's around 2,400 shillings per dollar. So do the math. You're talking probably $700-800 a year, something around. I'd have to do the math. I'm not great at head math, but something along that line. Anybody good at math, they can already know the number. but I'm going to say somewhere between $700 to $800 a year. Again, that doesn't sound like a lot. It's sounding here in the United States, it doesn't mean much at all anymore, does it? But over there, that's a lot of money. I mean, when their average salary, you know, $50 to $75 a month, then it, you know, for the average person. Now, you know, there's others that make a lot more, and there's others that make a lot less, but that's pretty much average. Anything else? Well, thank you again, and I appreciate your time.